Time now for Better Money. Today we're talking about retirement, and we're going to try and save for it. But as we do, are we taking into account all the expenses that we may face when we leave the world of work? Here to talk about that is Joel Johnson. He's a certified financial planner and the managing partner at Johnson Brunetti. Thank you so much for being with us.
Great to be back.
You say there's really 4 things that could catch us by surprise. So we're going to go through those. Number 1, we want to talk about the medical copays and the cost of long-term care.
Right. Medical copays catch a lot of people off guard because they don't realize that insurance premiums can change, or not just premiums, but also the copays, seeing our doctor and so on. So they don't necessarily budget for those items. Also, sometimes in years where we have big incomes, we can get into what they call the donut hole in Medicare insurance premiums, and your premiums can actually jump by as much as $100 to $200 a month. So we've got to set a little bit of money aside, sort of a reserve account for those medical copays. Long-term care is a much bigger deal for people. We need to have a conversation with a good financial planner or an estate planning attorney or an elder care attorney about covering long-term care expenses. Do we put things in trust? Do we buy insurance? Because this is something where if one spouse goes into a nursing home, the spouse remaining outside the nursing home can really be impoverished and have not a very good lifestyle, right, because they've got to pay those expenses.
All right, so that's something you really want to talk about. Also, financially supporting your children and grandchildren.
Correct. This is something that grandparents do a lot more these days. A lot of grandparents feel like that their kids don't have it quite like they did when the employment was much easier to find. Graduating from college kind of guaranteed you a job back then, and it doesn't so much today. So we see a lot of grandparents helping out children and grandchildren, and you just want to make sure that when you do that, again, you're not sacrificing your own lifestyle. So be careful, work with somebody that understands what can come up, what's reasonable and what's not, and be willing to say no when you have to, so that you don't end up living with your children or grandchildren.
That is a hard thing. All right, so inflation and the increase in the basic cost of living, because really everything is going up all the time.
Everything is going up here, and we're all living longer. If you would have bought a stamp in 1979, it cost 15 cents. 30 years later, it cost 3 times that much. So people need to think in terms of being able to give themselves raises, and possibly retirement costing double or triple what it does when they start their retirement life. Be able to give yourself raises, set up a financial plan where you can give yourself raises throughout your retirement.
All right, and I'm sure we're not making 3 times more money.
No, we're not.
Renovations and remodeling an aging home, and you're not talking about just, oh, I want a new vanity or I want new countertops. Sometimes the house can be, you have to do this stuff, and it can cost a lot of money.
Right, roofs, furnaces, driveways, things like that. We have to be careful of those things, and sometimes people have to have a realistic expectation of whether they can really stay in that home or not.
So you have an offer. It's Building Your Fiscal House, How to Weather the Elements, and this is a free book that you're giving to any of our Better Connecticut viewers. It's you just go to bettermoney@wfsb.com. There's the address on your screen right now.
Yeah, it's a great brochure. It talks about your fiscal house, the foundation, the walls, and the roof, and sort of puts expenses and investments into different categories so that you can have a better visual picture on how you should be structuring your life in retirement, so you don't have a windstorm come through and blow your financial house down.
Alrighty.
And so it's a great way to look at retirement.
Joel Johnson, thank you so much. That's Better Money.